According to Putin, the main condition for a ceasefire in Ukraine to Trump, in anticipation of a phone conversation with Vladimir Putin scheduled for today, Donald Trump said that significant work was done over the weekend. A lot has already been achieved and the chances of a deal are very high. Trump's optimism contrasts not only with the restrained comments of the Russian leadership, but also with statements heard from Kiev and Europe. Although Europe is not participating in these negotiations, the head of European diplomacy, Kaja Kallas, even admitted that the European Union is looking for but not finding a way to participate. Doesn't that make you a little bit pensive? Why don't they want the EU to participate? Because the EU wants the war to keep going, obviously. They're not geared to a peace. So why should they participate? Anyway, the numerous statements from London and Paris about peacekeeping forces, quote-unquote, supposedly ready to be sent to Ukraine without Russia's consent, are not helping Ukraine to accept the new reality, namely that there will be no Western security guarantee. So why is Trump so optimistic? Partly, this is due to his belief that he can put pressure on Ukraine and that Zelensky will be forced to agree to what the US president negotiated with Putin. Trump is not particularly concerned about Europe's opinion. He knows how to bluff the understated and understand that Europe is only pretending to be ready to escalate the situation, while in reality it has weak cards and cannot play an independent role in Ukraine. Thus, the only real obstacle for Trump to a deal is Vladimir Putin himself. The Russian president is neither going to back down easily nor rely on Trump's promises, although he's willing to negotiate seriously with Trump. Ukraine is only one part of the game, but a vital one for Russia. Trump's proposal for a 30-day ceasefire was not immediately rejected by Putin, precisely for this reason, despite the fact that it is obviously unprofitable for Russia. However, disagreements within the West on Ukraine are to Moscow's advantage, as Trump's stance causes shock and panic in Europe, but also in Kiev, which contributes to the achievement of Russian goals. Russia's main goal is clear. Ukraine must be removed from the West's sphere of influence. Is Trump ready to accept this? His desire to end the conflict is obvious. He does not aim to inflict a strategic defeat on Russia, hence to bring Ukraine into the West in order to prevent its possible future reunification with Russia. He does not see Ukraine as a tool for constant pressure on Russia, nor for hindering cooperation between Russia and Europe. In other words, Trump does not share most of the motives of American and European Atlanticists. However, he does not intend to hand over Ukraine to Russia. He wants to use any concessions he can to improve relations with the Kremlin, end the confrontation, and even change the global geopolitical balance. At the same time, he wants to shift economic and not military responsibility for Ukraine to Europe. These calculations of Trump are clear, and that is why Putin is willing to have serious discussions with him. However, the start of negotiations does not mean that Russia accepts Trump's terms. What Trump is already willing to concede on the Ukraine issue is not enough for Russia, but simply creates a framework for meaningful talks. Moscow does not intend to negotiate with Kiev, at least not before it first agrees with Washington. So we'll know after today's talk between Trump and Putin what will come out of this. Russia is not going to accept a simple 30-day ceasefire, as this does not resolve any fundamental issues. The main question is what will happen after the ceasefire. When and how will the cessation of Western military assistance to Ukraine be announced? When and how will Ukraine's withdrawal from NATO and NATO's refusal to accept it be formulated, possibly through agreements with Russia? When will Russia gain full control over the 4 new regions of the Federation? How and when will a new Ukrainian government be formed capable of concluding agreements with Russia? In other words, they want elections. Most likely Zelensky will be outed. When and how will Western sanctions against Russia be lifted, including the return of the frozen Russian foreign exchange reserves. These issues cannot be postponed until after the ceasefire. Yes, their final signing can take place after the cessation of hostilities, but detailed negotiations and basic consensus must be reached before, otherwise the ceasefire will not take place. So Trump and Putin have a lot to discuss today, both today and at their future personal meeting. Please leave your comments about this, and thank you for your support. This is by Peter Avkov, RIA Novosti. Please support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.